Met rust en de stilte die ook een geluid heeft. We gaan door naar de volgende spreker. Ik ben heel trots dat we zo iemand helemaal van ver uit Noorwegen hier naartoe hebben kunnen brengen. Can I welcome you on the stage, first of all, and then so you can stand next to me. The Healing Community, a Norwegian approach by Rydheim. Dit zal dus een presentatie zijn in het Engels, zeg ik er maar even erbij. This is a talk in English. A short introduction, een korte introductie, in het Engels ook. When I heard of your talk and your person, I was thinking about, Norwegian. I really like the way they approach the new style of mental health care, and you will talk about this. And I only want to introduce my own opinion about my isolation cellar experience. And when they ask me, do you want an isolation cellar experience? I answer yes, and the form of it will be in a forest in Norway. Give me that space, that is my isolation area. And then came you in talking about having space for clients. So please welcome, give her applause.
Thank you. First of all, thanks a lot for the invitation to the Recovery Academy in Norway. I was asked how come I started to work at the academy. It has to do with my years as one asking a lot of questions. As a writer, a nerdy activist with systemic interests, and I've also been leading several projects within the field in different places. My activity at Facebook led me to Ole Andreas, who actually should have been here today. He headhunted me to work in the academy in June 2019. What I appreciate is a workplace with pulsating life, where the leaders work close to the staff, speak with patients, and they do not close their eyes for the potential to do differently whatever it is, which might need to be improved and changed in our organization. Mainly, I've been working with information tasks, and I'm involved in some of the research which is being planned and ongoing to develop further the way we work. At the academy, personal experiences are valued as part of formal education and other kind of competence. We don't have peer specialists, but something I think is better. About 50% of our staff has some kind of what we call lived experiences, such as e.g. psychosis, hearing voices, anxiety, depression, experiences with tapering medication, and of course being close to someone with experiences with whatever has led them into having to ask for help for their mental health problems. I will at the end of this lecture give you some more of my personal experiences and thoughts about coercion, and most important maybe, how I think about my experiences on what's called psychosis. Every patient coming to us for treatment already had been diagnosed. That's still a part of our health system in Norway. People cannot apply directly to us, but have to go through the mainstream psychiatric service to get an assessment of rights to hospitalization. Almost everyone so far already has been hospitalized and/or outpatient patients in the mainstream psychiatry. And many patients have been coerced by law or have not been given any other option than medication. As I mentioned, the Recovery Academy personal experiences are valued. And there is almost always someone in the staff who can listen and share some similar experiences. One of the reasons is to give hope. Findings from 6 years of employing recovery-based treatment: 80% patients' satisfaction, 70% take contact for help with reducing or quitting psychopharmaceuticals. Phasing out drugs is demanding for many and must be customized. 80% meet their personal goals of reducing or phasing out psychopharmaceuticals altogether. Motivations for introduction the offering to Norway. Ever since the mid-90s, politicians have expressed their goal of reducing coercion in psychiatric healthcare. In March 2010, healthcare authorities described a new strategy as correct and reduced coercion. One of the minimum requirements were that all the healthcare institutions were to offer non-drug treatments, and as an effort to reduce coercion. Several user and survivor organizations have worked for years demanding this from the healthcare institutions. Little was done to provide non-drug alternatives until 2013. That's when the Joint Action on Non-Drug Alternatives contacted Ole Andreas in Hurdal. Together with the Joint Action, we prepared a description of a recovery-based psychiatric hospital that would offer non-drug treatment. The plan was to present this as an orderable item to the healthcare department with the goal that such orders would be easier for regional healthcare institutions to place. Hurdalsjøen Recovery Center started on April 1st, 2015. In 2016, the Minister of Healthcare stated, also an offering for controlled phasing out drug treatments is to be made available to the patients so wanting. The offering was to be established in separate wards, and cooperation between practitioners and patients was particularly weighted. As an initial phase, the department required establishing 5 such units in the country. Challenges to our methodology. The powerful mainstream lobby. Despite politically mandated reforms, strategies, and law changes. Difficulties with finding psychiatrists willing to work with recovery-oriented methodology. The application was sabotaged, the patient's desires and the offering were devalued, and profitable operation became difficult. Mainstream referred only the most chronified patients with significant problems. The good result obtained have not inspired our colleagues in mainstream. On the contrary, it provoked them. Despite the politically mandated freedom of treatment choice, after 6 years, many are still denied the assessment necessary to apply for treatment with us. The strength of this methodology: it has been simple to implement. Recovery orientation: the patient is setting his own goals, and this gives the patient a method for and the possibility to take control over his own problems. This is collected in a personal service plan. As a so-called free choice provider, we are paid about 1/3 of what the costs shown by statistics to be in mainstream psychiatry. A private hospital takes center stage, was stated by Robert Whittaker, who visited us in Hurdal in October 2019. On the website Made in America, there was published a report, Medication-Free Treatment in Norway, a private hospital takes center stage. So if you want to know more about us, you can read the report on Made in America. Hurdalsjøen Recovery Center is internationally regarded a pioneer in psychiatry, and we have received a number of applications from patients and professionals from several countries. In Sweden, the debate went viral after a lengthy report on phasing out antidepressant. In our hospital, there's not a main focus on the diagnostic system, but rather what kind of help any patient think they need, in combination with the group treatment we offer. There's always a specialist who is psychiatrist or psychologist who are responsible, and they cooperate with the staff working in the environment. We have built our treatment on these 3 pillars: IMR, illness management and recovery; physical activity; healthy meals. IMR, the core principle of IMR is working with personal recovery goals. The participants determine milestones and work step by step to reach their recovery goals. The participants focus on something meaningful to them that they want to achieve. Some modules are aimed directly at the recovery goal. Other modules support the recovery goal work because they may help handling symptoms and build skills. The method builds on 11 modules, each comprising different subjects. The IMR work is also adapted locally. Physical activity. We arrange group activities where each participant is guided individually on techniques and competition. The group activities may be organized in such a way that each participant can participate on his own terms with the group. Examples: physical activities comprise wilderness hikes, resistance training, yoga and ball games, and something we call 4 times healthier. I don't know if that means anything to you, but it's going as fast as you can or running 4 minutes, then go back again, and that's 4 times you do that. And it shows that it's good for the physical, also for the heart and so on. Then we have healthy meals. which means we follow Norwegian health authorities' recommendations. As little sugar as possible. Well, there's a lot of good recommendations, I think. I've been asked from you to focus on the actual treatment of people with psychosis without medication. We have a mixture of patients with different problems and who have been given different diagnoses. Some boast several diagnoses, several kinds of medications. All admissions are planned. We have no acute offer. Every referral comes through the official mainstream psychiatry. Patients may have symptoms of psychosis, but not what we think of as acute symptoms. It's always individual ways in how to help people with any kind of diagnosis. And also the tapering of medication have to be provided individually. A question about rules and regulations, how to communicate. We have our common group activities, and our goal is that the frames we have of the treatment is something patients are aware of before they get there. Our focus is that the patient get to trust and ask personal when they need one-to-one talks. It's good to learn to take responsibility to ask for help when needed. That's one way to get on the recovery road. We have 6 years with experiences, as mentioned, and for some, the tapering of medication really are difficult. And not possible to go through in 4 months. Some stop at a certain level, and it's also sometimes a recommendation to do so. If somebody is or comes into a state of psychosis, the question was, do you ask them to think about this straight away or later when they are calmer? Then you referred to the setting of the recovery goal. The answer there, it may be wise to wait, but we motivate all our patients to participate in the program as long as possible each day, until things get less chaotic. It's also possible to change the recovery goal during the stay. And I think there's not unusual to do so. And I think I may have mentioned, yes, usually people stay in our hospital for 4 months. What does a day look like? Well, breakfast at 9, physical activities 10:30, 12 lunch, 13:30 IMR, 16 dinner. Between dinner and the latest meal at 20, there are sometimes different common activities. And there's a beautiful nature in Hurdal, so it's always possible to go out alone or with someone. Except from questions and answer in an interview done by Tone Rydheim, I share a little bit of that with you. Why has it been important to you to choose your own treatment facility? No one has been willing to give me non-drug treatment. I've taken medication for 25 years and have not improved. At the same time, I feel the medicine has wrapped me in a constant fog, and I have headaches due to the medication. My desire to reduce the medication has not been met with accept. But here I am, accepted, and no longer need to fight the practitioners. I fought for a year and a half to be admitted here. Here, every day we have IMR treatments and physical activities, and I find it really helps. That's great. Any thoughts on physical activity and IMR? Yes, I'd like to tell you that I now quit medication entirely, and I feel my life without medication is totally different. I took medicine because I was depressed. No, I'm less depressed. So the treatment has been very good for me. I'm seen, heard, understood, and I've found out who I am. It's not unusual for people to stay on medication 10, 20, 30 years. So, it's said that Norway, a pioneering country with good intention and several plans and reforms and changes of law the last 25 years. I'll not go into every plan and reforms and changes of the law. But if someone is interested, I can tell about it later on. There's a huge amount of paper and groups who have been working with plans, recommendations, and very little actually have happened in the mainstream psychiatry. So, we are planning to start an international center in Hurdal, in Norway, where we plan to run groups for English-speaking people who want to come to Norway for recovery treatment. It will also be an educational center for professionals from different countries. I don't know if it will be possible, but I wanted to show you professional architect drawings of the new buildings and tell you more about this in the workshop later today. We'll see if it's possible to show the pictures. Then I'm down to my personal background. I don't know how much time I have left. I'll try. Then you just stop me when you need to. Yeah. I'll try to give you a short insight. I've learned that my trauma biography is historical, cultural, generational, and personal. As one of my trauma responses, I pretty much became an introvert loner, which also was a way to go into writing to compensate for sharing my thoughts in real life with real persons, where I felt I didn't fit in. Well, until 1992, I managed not to be captured by acute psychiatry, although I had my tendencies from 1985 to get to the border of being psychotic. In spite of my problems, I managed to stay out of the helping systems with minimal absence from work until I experienced a breakdown. But also, when some decisions led to life-changing problems, not only for me, but also for my family and my network. I ended up inside the doors that close people in an acute psychiatric old-fashioned system. More or less the same system works today within the mainstream acute psychiatry. Long story short, after a few days, I experienced use of bells and to be injected with drugs to change my thoughts, my body, and to make me compliant. After 2 weeks, I realized I had to cooperate if I should be able to get out of the hospital. Full of shame, regret, and even bigger problems, because of the way they handled me. I got home after 4 weeks. 2 more times I was in psychiatric hospitals in acute departments. That's the main background for my activism in this field. Actually, I'm not against being inside if I lose control over my mind. But I was really shocked about the way people in psychosis are being handled. I've lived with the fear of being closed up again in the same way for almost 30 years. Finally, I managed to let go of the fear, and that's partly because I see other ways of meeting people in crisis at my workplace. Psychosis itself is an interesting experience. What I realized and learned is that I got in touch with some inner parts which had been controlled and closed. To pass over to the other side, I guess, has been one of the ways to get to know myself in a broader context. That was the start of my journey into the traumatized parts in me, who had been split off into the shadows. Still, I need to go over to the other side, to find other perspectives, other dimensions, spiritual experiences. Now I might call it a dream world where magic stories comes to me. The difference now and back then is that now I can choose to go and get back in an instant moment. I know that I live with different parts inside me, and actually that's something which enriches my life. I have what I prefer to call inner dialogues. I believe these parts are all myself in different stages. Some says it's not normal. Others will say what's normal for you is what's right for you. What I say about it, finally I've got some hold on my inner universe, and actually I like it. I believe we have memories from our forefathers, and for all I know, earlier life experiences. Whatever it is, I'm enriched by what I find. I also know it's not only me who live content and well with inner dialogues. I can't say I've heard voices in my head, but through my inner dialogues, I have a vital mind communicating with my body and my soul. When I choose to let go, I just listen to the inner dialogues, and there comes unexpected voices, which tells me about the past, the future, and the context nowadays. Usually I recognize what they talk about and also ask questions. I accepted the contradictions in my inner universe. It has been easier to get to know myself and also to accept that circumstances in life changes, and I've had to change my mindset. I think we all are in some way fragmented. And the world outside is also fragmented. And that's some of the reasons why some people struggle with their life in different ways. Sorry. And that's also one of the reasons we get to polarization, to get to the polarization we experience. I'm more conscious about how to protect myself, and I have to choose to live my life the way I find joyful. Well, that's a little window into something much bigger, but into parts of my understanding of how I might live in this complicated world we are all part of. Time for a small...
You can make it round.
Yeah. My tribe, the poets, the creators, the painters, the founders, the crazy wise, those who make a difference by blessing our world with new colors and all kinds of languages. I am because we are. Thanks for listening.
Is mijn geluid aan? I wish this time in moment could be freezed, so the applause will be never ending for you. This is such a wisdom and such a tranquility like water. And thank you.
Thank you.
You can stay for questions. Is there a question? First, the woman there.
I don't have a question, but I'm so very touched by your words. So very in my heart, in my soul. And I have to tell a little bit about myself to explain. In 1983, I was psychotic. And I had a good place where I could heal. It was a therapeutic... Engels is zo slecht. A place with other young people. It was in Holland. I was there 2 years. And later I went to education to become SPH, social pedagogue. Hoe zeg je dat? Social work. And when I wrote my description, my things, it was about how can I stand every day on my feet. And
Pardon, what did you say?
How can I stand every day on my feet? And I wrote in that because I also started with healing courses about walking, laying on the ground, being in nature. I wanted to write about that. And then in 1990, they said, it's stupid what you are writing. You cannot work in this work because you are not a real social worker. You're half a healer and half social worker. And I got the diploma, but I didn't much with it. And I hear you talking, and now I feel totally, I was not mad. It was exactly what needed. You do that in Norway. And I felt that out of all of my system, 1990, you have to do this with people who are in this situation, like you are doing. It touched me so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Touching. Yeah, this is the vibe. We bring this to the ground and we make it here also. That's our future.
Ik wil graag even een moment stilte voor al die wijze mensen. Het staat los hoor, van wat mijn vraag is, maar dat komt omdat het me zo raakt. Al die wijze mensen op aarde, die weten hoe het zit. En die godverdomme worden weggezet alsof ze gek zijn. Het raakt me echt heel erg. Maar goed, dat was niet mijn vraag. I'm sorry, it was in Dutch because it came in Dutch.
Make the point.
My question is, I have already for a long time also dreams about a healing community because of my experiences, my own experiences, and also living on a squatted place where we had, let's say, no facilities at all, but it was in the woods and it had everything for me to heal. And I saw others heal there as well. And I knew at that moment that no expensive healing center could have done the same as that place did for me. So there's my wish and my dream. And my question is, in my experience, I experienced also the power of natural cold water as a sort of a reset, as a sort of, when I was, let's say, in verwarring, hoe zeg je dat in het Engels?
Can you go to the question maybe? It's
Confused?
okay. What's your question, please?
If you make use of cold water in your healing center.
We have a big lake where some of the patients are taking ice baths in the winter. And it's not very, very hot in the spring either. But there's always someone using the lake. Yes, and some says, I never thought I'll do that. And it's just wonderful.
Thank you.
I myself don't think I dare to try.
Thank you. Okay, we have 2 minutes and we have different questions. And it's such an honor to have here. So we just go on and make it to a pointer. The question, please.
And I have a question about this fragmentation that you're telling. It's really, I recognize that also in myself before I get psychosis. I always have a kind of regression to when I was 0 or 1 year old. But I'm looking for solutions. And I was wondering what you're doing when people are really fragmentized and how to heal that.
I myself have been in the same therapy as Rupert gives. If you know Rupert, I don't know. There's been someone here today telling about that kind of therapy. Yeah.
It's yesterday in the online.
Yeah, yeah. So I took the education, the ground education, 2010, 2012, when it was still family constellations. So then I got to know, first of all, it's transgenerational. I have something from my forefathers. And I think the contradictions, which I still have a lot of, but I can handle them easier. So first of all, for me, I think is to accept the contradictions and to live with the fear and say, okay, I'm fearful. I don't quite know why, but I feel the fear. I can't explain it with my brain, but is that an answer?
Thank you. Final question. Yeah, on the balcony. Hello, the lady in red. There's a microphone behind you. If you can wait a moment.
It's not a question. I had psychosis before. I think sexual activity is good medicine. That's my
Okay. Check. One more.
Yes.
Okay.
Before you start your question, I have to interfere a bit. My ear is in a bit of pain. I didn't hear it, so maybe that was needed. I didn't hear your point. So I'm a bit confused now. But the gentleman in the middle, you're the final question.
Yes. Hi. My name is Lex.
Hi.
I was wondering what, in your view, is now where we stand in the Netherlands in comparison to, for instance, Norway in making these kind of treatments more the norm and more normalized.
I didn't quite catch the question.
Sorry,
It's
do I have
like
to repeat?
positioning, where is the Netherlands in your opinion, and where's the Norwegian new way approach?
Yes, and where, what does it take to get to a more normalized situation?
I think it might be wise to start as we have started in Hurdal, because there also, you can start a private practice, people pay themselves, but then you don't reach the main group, I think. So it has to be some way in cooperation with the authorities. As I said, we are getting 1/3 of what the mainstream psychiatry are getting. So to think that you can do everything in one offer, in one hospital, I think it's not possible. So you have to pick some parts which you can sell out to the authorities. And in Norway, there are 2 other units which runs, and one has 6 beds, the other has 8, I think. And we have 60. But the mainstream psychiatrists are looking at us with, yeah.
It's a going
You
process, and starting with what you're good at, I guess.
Yeah,
Also.
yeah. And cooperate with people with experiences. I think that's
Yeah,
very
that's you.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. A big applause. This is